right, thank you all for your patience this evening. It is 6:02. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Walter.
Here.
Vice Mayor Woolridge. Here. Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
Councilmember Galeen. Here. Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Wall.
Here.
Councilmember Larson.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll begin this evening with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we're going to open call to the public. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Town Council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. I have 3 this evening. The first is Jose Malmado, otherwise known as Mo, from the nonprofit American Legion, Post A9. Hello, sir. How are you? Come on up to the podium.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, Vice Mayor. I'm just here to let you, the town know that I'm the new commander of the American Legion Post 9 here in Florence. And just to reiterate some of the stuff that what we stand for, our four pillars, which are advocacy, troop support, youth programs, and Americanisms. Just some of the stuff that we've done lately. We've supported the town with the car show that they had downtown, the first annual car show, which was a real success. We also were part of we had an open membership also that day, which was real good. And we also had this weekend, we went to the National Guard, and we're a part of the stand down, and it was a really good time. And also this coming up in 2 weeks, we're going to be having the Road to Country Thunder, so we appreciate the support that town can give us. And that's basically it. We're here for the community, for the children, and anything we can do, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out and introducing yourself. Welcome to the new post.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you give your contact information to Brian, because...
I have his contact information.
Okay, good.
I'll give it to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Miss Kathy Adam with the Pinal County Historical Society.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Adam at 240 East Ruggles here in Florence. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me just speak. I came to talk about the ALUW Cemetery, which I know was on a council work session earlier. And I was going to give a little background in the history of the cemetery as it relates to Florence and our important people who have founded the town. On my way in, I was having several conversations with town staff and others, and I think there's a little confusion over exactly which cemetery we're talking about. We're using the term ALUW and Adamsville and Butte kind of interchangeably in some cases. So I apologize for taking your time. I'm going to work behind the scenes and make sure I know which cemetery is on your agenda, and I'll work with the council to find out and then get my facts in a row. I do not want to cloud the issue anymore. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Donald Woolridge.
Mayor and Council, good evening to you, and I want to thank you for your listening ear. I have a personal matter I'd like to present to you related to the lot next to where I reside at 534 West 14th Street, and it's a vacant lot, and the issue is that the wall is being tagged, and so I don't know who would give attention to that, but that's the matter that I'll bring before the council this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brent, will you follow up with Mr. Woolridge after? Thank you. Are there any more members of the audience that would like to speak during call to the public before I close it? Okay, closing call to the public. I need a motion to adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District number 1.
Make a motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District number 1.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Item A is our public hearing on feasibility reports for projects, Assessment Area 9 with Mr. Joe Jarvis.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and the Council. This evening, we're bringing an item before the District Board for your consideration. This is for a special assessment within District Area number 1. This pertains to units number 3, 5, 7, 52, and 56A. This is an amount for your consideration of amount not to exceed $1.477 million. As part of this agenda item, if it pleases the council, we, or the board, we would request your consideration of 2 separate resolutions pertaining to this issuance. This evening, in attendance to our meeting, we have a representative from Pulte. We have a representative from Greenberg-Toreg, who is our legal counsel on the community facility districts. In addition, we have representatives from Stiefel, Nicholas, who are work as our underwriters for the issuances we've had in the past. Mayor and council members, this is a routine item that we've brought before the council a number of times. But if it pleases the council, we will go into more specific details, and we are ready and willing to discuss and read through the resolutions for your direction.
Okay. Is there any members of council that would like him to read through at this time or has any clarifying questions they want to bring forward?
I just want to confirm that this is the same special assessment that is currently applied to all the other lots within Anthem at Merrill Ranch.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity to clarify. This is the same special assessment. It was a decision by our predecessors but to assess $3,500 per lot, regardless of which district it was. And that has been the consistent procedure for the last 10 years, a little over 10 years. And so each individual property owner is assessed $3,500, and it is their choice whether they will pay that off at one time or throughout the time period of the issuance of the bond. And this relates a little bit about our last council meeting. We had a discussion as to who would be handling the invoices for these assessments. Going forward, it will be not Gila County, where I used to live, Pinal County, where I live now. It will be Pinal County who will be handling those issuances. So thank you for giving that opportunity for me to clarify.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to open up the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item? In closing the public hearing. Item number B is our resolution number MRCFD 137-18, which is the consideration and possible adoption of a resolution approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of a 9th Amendment and waivers, Assessment Area 9 for District Development, Finance Participation, Waiver and Intergovernmental Agreement, authorizing and ratifying the giving of notice and hearing with respect to approving a feasibility report and approving such feasibility report and ordering the work with respect thereto. Mr. Joe Jarvis.
Madam Mayor and council members, this item directly relates to the previous presentation I just made. It is the requirement for these assessments for their issuances that we have two separate resolutions related to the items. At this time, do you have any further questions for me?
No, we do not. Okay, at this time, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number MRC FD1 137-18, which approves the development agreement, amendment, and feasibility report, and other matters.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. And item number 3 on that recommended motion action.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number MRCFD 137-18, which approves the development agreement amendment and feasibility report and other matters.
That should be 138.
Pardon me, I got on the wrong line. Motion to adopt resolution number MRCFD 138-18, which in part authorizes the sale and issuance of not to exceed $1,477,000 aggregate principal amount SA bonds and related matters.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now in item number C, I know this is the one that we just approved, so do I need to open that one because it was listed in the one prior, so I apologize. Okay, thank you. All right, so item D is approval of the February 5th, 2008 Merrill Ranch Community Facility District's number 1 special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 5th, 2018 Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1 special meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion that we adjourn for Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned from that facility district.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Mr. Joe Jarvis?
I think the only item we have on that has to do with the special meeting minutes, and so I do not have any items to discuss at this time.
Okay. Item A, if we could have a motion for the approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 5th, 2018 Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2 special meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Make a motion to adjourn from Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 10 is presentations. And item A is acceptance of a $4,500 donation to assist in the purchase and training of a new dog for the Florence Police Department K-9 program. Chief Hughes.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My assistant, the town manager, is holding a simulated check for over $4,000 and $4,100. And then we also received a couple of more checks for a total of almost $4,500 for our K-9 program. A little background, Russ has been a K-9 for us for a number of years. He's getting up in age. He's still working. He's still a working dog, but he really needs an opportunity to retire, enjoy life. And so we needed to raise some money because we hadn't anticipated this in our budget. And we had a group step up. Teresa Van Cleve and 3 other wonderful people have stepped up to help raise money. And just a little background on them, they have stepped up for the last several years, and anything the police or fire department have needed, the water to give out over the summer, they've been very good about saying, hey, if you need something, let us know. And I came to them this year and said, listen, we've got to try and raise some money for a dog because it's an expense that's going to run $10,000 to $12,000, and they didn't hesitate or blink. They stepped up and said, okay, we're going to come help you, and between them and another source, we've been able to raise that amount of money, and certainly wouldn't be able to do it without their help. So if I can get them to come forward and go over here. We'll get the dog to, shake paws with them or something. I've got plaques for Teresa Van Cleve, Debbie Gill, Susan Weber, and Susan Else. And there were a lot of other good people who came out, gave donations. They had a great dinner. I would know, I ate. They raised a lot of money, and they're just a great group of people that really is what Florence is about, giving back to the community. And so I'd like to give them each a plaque in recognition of the outstanding service to the Florence Police Department, to our K-9 program.
Kneel down in front.
Come on, we'll get the dog in there. Give him a bone.
We just want you guys to know that it's our pleasure every year to adopt the fire and police departments to help them and to help our community. And every year we pick a charity, and they've been on the winning end for a long time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank each of you.
Thank you, ladies. You are amazing. Item number B is a retirement presentation celebrating David Elliott's March 30th, 2018 retirement after 35 years of service to the town of Florence.
Madam Mayor, members of council. This may seem like deja vu all over again, because about 6 months ago, we celebrated that first 35 years spent by David with this fine organization. Based on that achievement, and I'm sorry I'm losing my voice, he decided it was time to retire and to spend some time with his family after that amount of time. He was originally hired by the town to be a maintenance worker. I was in Public Works a mere short time ago, 1982. I think I was 8 when you hired on here at the town. He was then a foreman in streets, foreman in sanitation, and he's been in the maintenance shop at Public Works since 2001, where he's been a mechanic. Reading through David's personnel file is like the history of Florence itself. Various names of managers, directors, council members making decisions. David has been a consistent in the Public Works Department for 35 years. We'll miss him, but we wish him the very best in his retirement. And as a token of the town's appreciation, we have an award that I will let Chris provide to David on behalf of the town. Chris?
Mr. Elliott, on behalf of Public Works and the Fleet Department, I wish to hand you this award for your 35 years plus, and I just want to say a few things. Unfortunately, David's our fleet manager's out sick today, and so he wasn't able to make it. But one thing I'd like to let everybody know in the room, that working with Mr. Elliott's been a pleasure. He's a very unique personality. He is a very challenging person. He's the exact type of employee you want, someone who challenges leadership, challenges questions. Again, the same type of people. I had a great meeting today with Tierra del Sol, and I told all of them, make sure you challenge your government. Make sure you challenge people like myself to provide you the code references. Make sure you challenge us to make sure that everything that we do matches up to, again, the authority that's given to us in these books. And Mr. Elliott kind of reminds me of that same type of person who challenges. He's challenged me personally on some of the decisions that we've made and some of the things that have been brought up in a very respectful way. But again, someone we're sorely going to miss, and I hope that others have seen what he's provided us in leadership along the way. And once again, sir, you're going to be sorely missed. Thank you so much for all your years.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
Sir, would you like to say anything?
Madam Mayor, let me get through this without employee number 18 is going to retire. Now it's up to 1,400 employees. So I've seen a lot of people come and go. Employees, of course, what Chris said, directors, mayors, councils. Of course, Rebecca remind me of her, so I work with her quite a bit. So I don't know if you know where the old Public Works was. It's actually behind the True Value store where the high profile was. It's like a two-car garage, carport. So, and until the guys that work at different equipment that I worked and used, operated. So, yes, when I first started, the gentleman named Eddie Taylor doesn't work here anymore. Where the fitness center is, we used to be the janitors in the early morning, do the grounds maintenance. Then after a year or two, I started working with the fire department as Joe Valdez with the chief then. Then I got into, from the maintenance, I got into the streets, doing various things throughout the years. Then I got to the sanitation and did sanitation truck. Then from sanitation, I went to streets. Then I went from mechanic. So I guess all-around person. So the guys that work, especially new ones and the old, says we can't replace you. Good feeling that will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your service, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a news clip. I forgot, I have it at home. It's the first town manager was Bill Joy, and we had their first electric Christmas decorations. I was the one putting them up, so I have a news clip from Florence Blade that I have at home. So first Christmas of that year, so it's kind of cool. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next item is item C, and this is the update on operations and services that are offered by the Horizon Health and Wellness by Norman E. Mudd and team.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, it's with great pleasure that I introduce our newest partner in the town of Florence, and that's Horizon Health and Human Wellness. And for those folks that are not familiar in town, they purchased the old Florence Hospital and literally has spent millions rehabbing that facility and getting it ready to open in April. Very happy to say they've been a wonderful partner with the town and with our building safety, our engineering, our public works department in terms of a number of projects that had to be done, including upsizing a water line for fire sprinklers in the building. And it's really exciting as they're going to share with you. They're going to add jobs to the town and provide some options that don't currently exist. And from a staff perspective, we're very excited about that partnership and very happy with how far that partnership has taken us thus far. So with that, I'll turn it over to Horizon.
Mayor Walter, Vice Mayor Woolridge, members of the Town Council, we want to thank you very much for having us this evening. My name is Gustavo Magru, and I'm the Director of Community Relations for Horizon Health and Wellness. Mr. Mudd was actually going to be here this evening to be part of this presentation. Unfortunately, one of his family members ended up in an emergency situation, had to go to the hospital, so we're going to cover for him best we can. But we really do want to emphasize our gratitude, particularly for the partnership that has been formed with the City of Florence over these past, I believe, a little bit more than 2 years, thereabouts, that this process to get our new Florence Community Health Center up and going. So we're very grateful to all of you, to all of the city staff that has supported us. We've met with many of the members. We feel like we're in a very good position, and of course we are very close to having our ribbon cutting ceremony that will be taking place just a couple of weeks, April 6th, Friday, April 6th. We're hopeful that all of you will be able to join us for that event. And we know that we have other people from throughout Pinal County, some from Maricopa County that will be joining us as well, because many people get the importance of the Florence Community Health Center that we're going to be opening up. I have two distinguished colleagues with me this evening. Our Chief Financial Officer, Judy Stith, is going to be doing part of the presentation, as is Julie Flack, who is our Chief of Inpatient and Crisis Services. But I get to lead off, probably, if the clicker works, with what we are hoping will be up on the new building, the facility, our Horizon Health and Wellness Florence Community Health Center. Our board voted last week on that name. And again, because of the great partnership, we wanted to reiterate that that partnership is in place. And we feel very strongly that that name will actually hold a very important space, not only for Florence, but also for Pinal County. So these are the buildings. I should note that this is still draft signage. We're still fine-tuning it a little bit, so we actually may end up making the Florence Community Health Center a little bit larger, so we're getting feedback right now from our staff related to that. So this is all of the signage that presently exists. It's just showing you what we're very hopeful will be up in place in short order. So with that, I would like to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Chief Financial Officer, Judy.
We'll let Julie do that. So, good evening. It's very nice to see all of you tonight. Some of we, a second time to see some of you who had the opportunity to come out and tour our facility. We actually just completed the construction of our 26-bed observation unit just March 14th. Oh, can you not hear me? I'm sorry. With that, in preparation for the opening and the completion of our construction, we also had to complete some water supply enhancement for fire safety to the building. So we tacked into the infrastructure of the town of Florence and were able to enlarge the the supply lines around our facility so that it brought adequate power, Chris, what is that called? Fire flow, water flow. I'm the finance person, not the maintenance person. So proper water supply to the building for fire safety. We also had to be able to chemically sanitize the domestic water coming into the facility, as well as we actually have had to repair practically 100% of all of our sewer wastewater lines leaving the building. So it's been quite an undertaking. We're now in the process of replacing boilers in our facility, and then are doing some very extensive chiller and cooling tower repairs to be able to finish that and get that up and going. Our ribbon cutting ceremony, as Gustavo mentioned, is Friday, April the 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. Certainly hope you can come out and join us. But our actual opening days is still a little bit undetermined because we have to wait for licensing to be able to give us that go-ahead. So that date is still yet to be determined, but we will have definitely our ribbon cutting ceremony. We will offer a primary care clinic immediately upon the time that we open, as well as outpatient behavioral health services. We anticipate that we are actually bringing to the town of Florence about 60 jobs in this phase 1. At phase 2, we'll be adding on a 16-bed non-IMD inpatient level 1 facility for psychiatric, and we'll also have an 18-bed children's observation unit. We'll also be doing a children's crisis walk-in clinic. We anticipate that that will bring also an additional 60 jobs to the town in order to staff those units. We have not determined the completion date for that because there's a number of things that still have to fall into place. But, you know, certainly as soon as we know what those dates are and can tie down, you know, we'll certainly be more than happy to share that news. And so with that, I am going to let Julie tell you all about our psychiatric unit.
Hello. My clicker's not working.
No, get it. Is it a click? Ahí está.
Okay.
Just this one right
There we
here.
go. Sorry. I want to talk to you a little bit about the services, more in depth in the services that we're offering. It is a 23-hour crisis stabilization unit. The capacity is 26. And the benefits of such a unit is to create a place, a safe place, where people can come and get evaluated. So law enforcement, if they come across someone who's in crisis, they have an immediate place where they can bring them to us or we can assess them. It also is a great benefit for the ERs. There's a real problem in across the country with psychiatric, it's called psychiatric bed boarding, where they have psychiatric patients taking up emergency room space, waiting to get into a psychiatric facility to be assessed. So by having this, it will relieve some stress on the surrounding hospitals, surrounding ERs. Other things that we will do there, we will assist with access enrollments for those people who come that do not have insurance, setting them up with that, as well as screen for other types of benefits. And in the facility, they will have access to a provider, a psychiatric provider, 24/7. Our policy is a no wrong door policy, and what that means is that, again, like I discussed, law enforcement, if they come across someone who is in crisis, who needs an assessment, can just drop them off at our facility. We have another facility that's very similar to this in Yuma County, and the police wait time is about 5 minutes, so we can get them back out on the street to make sure that they're keeping the community safe. So, and then if the patient that is brought to us is not appropriate for that level of care, still the police will move on and we will find the right place for that person. So it's not the responsibility of the law enforcement that drops them off. So immediate crisis stabilization is what we provide in a safe and caring environment. In there they'll get a psychiatric evaluation, psychosocial assessment, a total risk assessment, as well as treatment plan. Anyone can come and receive services regardless of benefits. either be voluntary or involuntary. We provide a comprehensive discharge plan. The goal is so they will not have to return, so hooking them up with extra services that will help deal with whatever the initial issue was that brought them in. We have customized follow-up, as I mentioned before, support services, as well as transportation arrangements. So everybody who comes into our facility, we will transport them to the next level of care, where that may be out to a lower level facility, such as what's called a brief intervention program to provide substance abuse or medication stabilization. But regardless, when they come to us, we will be sending them to providing transport to the next level of care. In addition to the observation unit, we are also opening up a bridge clinic. It's basically a crisis walk-in clinic. So persons who may be coming through town who have run out of their medications, or maybe they're feeling depressed and they want to talk with somebody, that is, they would walk into the front lobby, they would be seen and assessed, and then given a prescription if that's appropriate. They also would be receiving follow-up services on where they can go next to get continued treatment and follow-up care. Let's see. We also do provide, as I said, connection to behavioral health services with qualified providers. Other services and benefits, we definitely coordinate with family and other service providers, as well as it's an integrated treatment model. So as mentioned earlier, we'll have a primary care, an outpatient as well there. And we provide treatment for conditions such as comorbid medical conditions such as diabetes and hypertension. We also will do court-ordered evaluations there for the Title 36 process. And there is a possibility we may have a pharmacy on site, so those folks that do come to the facility and get a script, they can get their medications filled right then and there. And also, there's been discussions regarding renting out some space for radiology at the facility. So that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions.
So one point I just wanted to clarify that I know a lot of citizens have brought up, and you were able to clarify it for our staff and council, is the fact that you also hire drivers. So regardless of if they have insurance or don't have insurance, if they're seen at the facility and they wouldn't need to be transported to another facility per se, you would at least make sure they made it home safely or back to their county or residence safely.
Yes, I guess I didn't touch on that. We do have, we're having drivers that are employed at that facility who will be providing transport back to their home or where, the next level of care if needed. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just really important to touch upon because I don't know for the majority of council members, but that has been a concern that has been communicated through the community that has been noted, so I just wanted to make sure we had that opportunity.
It's very important. I mean, we want to make sure that we provide excellent discharge plan and make sure that we get them to where they need to be. And that's part of providing good care. So absolutely.
Do you know when you're going to, because I know originally when you came to the town, the plan was for juveniles as well as for adults. Do you know when you'll be breaching over into some of the even high school age services or younger?
So as mentioned earlier, we have several phases to this project. The observation unit that is opening in the Bridge Clinic just services adults. We will create the same type of program but be for adolescents. And we have to start the construction on that. We're looking at possibly by the end of the year. I'm thinking possibly by the end of the year that phase would open.
Excellent.
I would like to add to that. You mentioned services for children and adolescents in high school age.
Yes, ma'am.
As soon as we open in April, we will be able to provide outpatient services to members of the community and those that live here, both adult and children.
Thank you for clarifying.
I just wanted to touch on something that you guys, when we were on the tour, that I thought was important, was the discharge policy, was also that you wouldn't discharge in the evening hours. just for public safety reasons and concerns. That to me was a really big highlight that I just thought I was hoping that you would sort of bring up.
Yeah, that's true. We are not going to be discharging in the late hours because of the fact that there are not usually services available out in this area at that time. So the discharges will happen usually from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Any other council members? All right, well, we're very appreciative of your presentation this evening and your willingness to open up the doors to accommodate tours. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11 is our consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda, sorry, I lost my glasses, will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A is approval of the upfitting of 2 new police interceptors by Creative Communications in an amount not to exceed $27,422.22. Item B is approval of the February 5th, February 20th, and February 28th, 2018 Town Council meeting minutes. And item C is to receive and file the following board and commission meeting minutes. February 8th, 2018 Arts and Culture Commission meeting minutes. That's all that's on my online agenda. So with that, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12 is unfinished business. Resolution number 1657-18, which is the discussion, approval, and disapproval of a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, proposing a permanent adjustment to the 1979-1980 base expenditure limitation of the Town of Florence. Ms. Lisa Garcia is not here this evening, but Mr. Joe Jarvis is stepping in.
I don't know how well I will do in lieu of Ms. Lisa Garcia. We'll see. I'm sure my annual review will depend upon it.
She is watching you right now.
I know. I can feel her close, which is good. She's a great resource and a great supervisor. Madam Mayor and council members, we spent quite a bit of time in the last meeting giving a presentation about something for the council to consider. And this evening, we don't have a planned presentation because we reviewed all the statistics, we reviewed the information, but I am ready to discuss the item and ready to discuss your comments, questions, or concerns, or the concerns you may have received from citizens in the town of Florence. So that's the extent of my prepared comments.
Well, I believe that this was covered very well at the last meeting, and the information in the packet is very comprehensive. Is there any member of council that has anything that they would like clarified or stated at this time? I would just like to reaffirm, I do believe that this is important for our town to look at and consider, especially with the fact that, should things change in the future, it could set us back to the 1970s. So with that, we need a motion.
Madam Mayor, if I may, one thing has changed. After we gave our presentation, the state office sent us an update in our numbers. As we had discussed, there is the population, and then there is the 1718 number multiplied by the population factor, multiplied by the inflation factor. Since we last spoke, we've received an updated number for the population factor. And so that number went up. And so at the end, the amount that we're proposing is a little bit higher, about $200,000 more than the number we had presented previously. So I want to make sure you're well aware. Some things had changed. It's because the state had come back and said, this is your new number we want you to use. That is
Can you state that in the microphone? I couldn't hear you.
I was hoping Joe would say it. I'm sorry.
It's still the same methodology as the last meeting. It's still the minimum. It's still the lowest and most conservative, which is, I believe, what council asked us to come forward with. It's just the population went up, and so the dollar amount in the formula is higher than it was at the last meeting.
We are still presenting the number of $451,500 with the goal of tying us back to Proposition 411, which the citizens approved by 70% back in 2016.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that clarification. And it's great to see that, our town as well as Pinal County is the fastest growing in the state.
If I can just make a couple of comments. I read recently that the town of Tempe recently unanimously approved this type of a proposition. And I want to make sure that we recognize that this is just a resolution authorizing the town to place this issue on the ballot for the voters. That's not correct. That we are approving this with this vote. We're just approving putting it on the ballot.
That is correct. Thank you for the opportunity to clarify. The council, if it pleases the council and you approve it, then Lisa and I will go through the process of putting this on the ballot, preparing the required documents, and preparing it all to be put on the August ballot for the citizens to make the determination, and it will be their opportunity to do so in August.
All right, thank you. With that, we need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 1657-18, a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, proposing a permanent adjustment to the set 1979-80 base expenditure limitation of the town of Florence.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, with our new business, the discussion, approval, and disapproval of accepting the resignation of Carl Bell from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Madam Mayor, members of council, I believe it was sent around last week, but Mr. Bell issued his letter proposing to resign from this board for personal reasons. And so I believe it's appropriate, following your vote, that we would work with the clerk's office to get the proper posting done and let people know that his position will be available.
Thank you. With that, we need a motion.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Carl Bell from Planning and Zoning.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Item B is discussion, approval, disapproval of entering into a memorandum of understanding for the Florence Science, Technology, Entrepreneurship, and Mastery Academy, also known as the Florence STEM School, with Pinal County, Florence Unified School District, and Startup Pavilion Incorporated, doing business as Innovation Pavilion. Mr. Brent Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, members of council, a few short months ago, I was in front of you with a development agreement with Startup Pavilion, also known as Innovation Pavilion, for the town to work with Innovation Pavilion to provide improvements in the town of Florence on 5 different elements. One of those elements was education, and it pleases me to be in front of council tonight and to say that that partnership has been enhanced from the town and Innovation Pavilion in Pinal County to now the county schools office, as well as the Florence Unified School District, as part of this partnership to bring some innovative and cutting-edge things to the town of Florence. This pertains to, as I said, education previously. What is this agreement? This is not a development agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding between the 4 parties to work towards the common goal of building a STEM academy in the town of Florence, Arizona, and working with these groups. Over the last couple months, many discussions have taken place regarding how large or small, where to locate, what type of curriculum, what type of audience this would be looking to, whether Florence is the right place to have this or elsewhere in the Florence Unified District. This is not an agreement to build a school. This is an agreement where a group of parties agree to a series of steps and a timeline to work towards ultimately providing the STEM Academy. I believe the most important part of the agreement is the last page, which is essentially a spreadsheet that specifies responsibilities of the town, Florence Unified School District, the county, and Innovation Pavilion towards that goal. With that, are there any questions regarding the MOU? I guess the last thing I would provide is the school district took this agreement before their board last Tuesday, and it was approved in front of the Florence Unified School District Board last Tuesday.
All right. I did have just a clarification because we did have the ability to look at the MOU prior to the school board's approval, and I understand there may have been some changes. And just so all of council is aware of what changes were made, can you highlight those for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Hope that works a little bit better. The first one, and they're reflected throughout the agreement, but I'll just point to one instance on any of most of them. Right at the start of the MOU, previous version of this included Pinal County as one of the parties. That's now been clarified to say the Pinal County Schools Office. So although it will go to the county, ultimately the first signature that takes place is the school superintendent, which I think everybody understands is an elected official that acts on behalf of the county. So that's change number one. Change number two, the initial version of this agreement only pertained to the old elementary school, which, if I recall, Jennifer, was about 24,000 square feet, which is the linear buildings that are off of Orlando Street, where we now have our before and after school programs, and there are several other programs that currently those buildings are utilized for on a rental basis with the school district. That has been expanded on the version that went to the school board last week to include 85,305 square feet, which is all of the square footage that exists on the Florence K-8 campus. The next one is a clarification item, and it has to do with section 2.5.1 under the implementation section. A new sentence was added, and I'll read it into the record. The parties acknowledge and agree that the intent of the project is to create a one-of-a-kind educational experience in Arizona based on the Highlands Ranch STEM Academy in Colorado, with the district maintaining ultimate authority over operational decisions. The next item, and Cliff, if there were questions on these, Cliff could answer it a lot better than me, but there was an update. Sorry. There was an update to the indemnification section regarding the folks that were involved here, so that there's a joint indemnity, and then an executive order 2009-09 was included, as well as ARS 41-4401 and ARS 23-214A with respect to that. And lastly, the entire insurance requirement section was rewritten. It's become about 4 times as long as it initially was, to make sure that we could include all 4 entities and individual insurance requirements so that we could work together towards this. As you can imagine, kind of difficult to work with 4 different entities. One's a city government, one's a county government, one's a school district, and one's a private corporation. So Cliff worked on that with those entities on the insurance requirements. Does that please you, Mayor, in terms of the amendments that were made?
It does. How do you feel about the amendments?
It was very clear, it's still clear to me, that we needed a baseline. We needed a set of rules and a way to work together to accomplish this. With 4 parties, with the diversity that these parties have, Nothing like this has ever been done before from my research. So we needed a set of rules and something to bring us together towards a common goal, and this agreement sets that path.
Okay. Are there any members of council that have any clarifying questions or comments?
I've already had my questions answered earlier today. I'm supportive of the MOU.
I agree. I had all my questions answered, and I look forward to this town of Florence.
All right. With that, I would like to thank you for, you've put in over, I believe, 100 hours?
Over 200 hours.
200 hours of just, bringing all of the parties together, communicating not only with council, but all of the different parties. So thank you, because you are directly impacting the youth in our community in the future.
Our staff and clearly our council, our team is working very hard to continue to enhance Florence from the special place it is now to moving forward to make it even more special in the future.
And we are looking forward to that. With that, we need a motion regarding this item.
Make a motion to approve memorandum of understanding for the Florence Science, Technology, Entrepreneurship, and Mastery Academy, Florence STEM School.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Item C is the discussion, approval, and disapproval of a notice of intent to discuss the potential to adjust utility rates for the town of Florence and set a public hearing for May 21st, 2018. Mr. Joe Jarvis.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. On February 28th, there it is. There's the report, all 700 pages or whatever it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is your copy. Mr. Dan Jackson came and gave a presentation to talk about the utility rate study. We focus specifically on water and sewer rates. A requirement for the council to consider holding a public hearing is a notice of intent. So this evening, staff is coming to the council for your consideration in order to approve a notice of intent. That will set off a chain of events. Let me emphasize, this evening, the town council is not making a decision about what the utility rates should be. All the council is doing tonight is authorizing staff to begin the process of setting the public hearing. At the public hearing, that's when the town council will have the opportunity to make a decision as to what you'd like to do going forward. This agenda item has a lot of background, one of which is that packet of information. It is called the Florence Rate Study Draft. A copy of that will be made available online. It's already there, it's just not clearly notified. Be made available tomorrow for citizens to review. There's a copy at the, let me get the name right, Dorothy Nolan Senior Center. There's a copy at Town Hall for citizens to review. And in addition, we will be announcing in the paper the notice of intent for consideration of rate adjustments. It is planned that the public hearing would occur on May 21st. It is staff's intent to advertise for this public hearing next week if the council directs us to do so. The intent is, we know that there are some of our residents that are seasonal residents and they wanted to be made aware of our intentions. So we're putting in the paper next week in the hopes of capturing some of those residents who may still be living here. All of that has to do with water and sewer rates. Let me transition for a moment. I want to talk about sanitation rates. As the town council is aware, January 31st, we received a letter of notification from Right-of-Way Disposal of their intent to implement a CPIU increase of all fees equal to 3.2%. Per their contract, they are authorized to do so every year during the contract, and they chose not to. This is the first time in the 5 years that they have chose to move forward with what they're authorized to do in the contract. So staff decided to roll this into the same notice of intent. If, when the public hearing occurs, the town council chooses not to adjust the rates, it just means that the town's sanitation fund balance will be absorbing that additional cost. If I might, Are there any questions about the RAD letter or about the about the sanitation notice of intent?
Joe?
Yes.
It's not 3.2%, it's 32 cents. 32 cents per month for every person.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, 32 cents. 32 cents. Right now, customers are paying $17. If this went forward, then the customers would be paying $17.32.
And again, this is the first increase that they've had in 5 years.
That's correct. That's correct. I apologize, I'm transitioning back now. Back to the water and sewer rates. At the presentation from Wildan and Associates, there were 3 scenarios presented. The town council had asked Wildan to present multiple scenarios, and they presented multiple scenarios. So on the town's website, you are going to see 3 different scenarios so that the community can see what all those scenarios are. Those 3 scenarios are in that 150-page presentation, but we wanted to make it very simple and very clear. These are the 3 different scenarios. That does not mean that the council cannot choose an additional scenario. It's your decision to make. But we are presenting those 3 scenarios. If it pleases the council, do you have any questions for me about the water and sewer utility notice of intent?
I just want to make sure that when these various scenarios are posted on the website, that it's clear that it's 3 different scenarios. The material in our book doesn't distinguish that fact. So we want to make sure that it isn't the whole package that they would be looking at. They would need to look at each individual scenario.
Okay. I'll do my best to communicate that, but as you're working with the citizens and viewing it yourself, if you feel that it's not very clear, feel free to call me so we can provide further clarification. Because you're right, Councilwoman, we want it to be very clear it's one of these scenarios.
Thank you.
All we're voting on here tonight is to approve the notice going up, right?
Correct. We're just approving the notice of intent to discuss the potential to adjust the utility rates for the town of Florence and to set that public hearing for May 21st, 2018.
That is correct.
May I make that motion?
Absolutely.
I make a motion to approve a notice of intent to discuss the potential to adjust the utility rates for the town of Florence and to set a public hearing for May 21st, 2018.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarvis. Mr. Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, Dr. Cliff has diagnosed me with the swine flu, so I'm gonna withhold from my presentation tonight because I'm losing my voice. The joke for those folks in the audience and on TV is the Pinal County Fair's this week, and I'm taking a couple days off because my kids are going to be showing pigs at the fair, so ha-ha on the funny swine flu joke.
We hope you feel better. This is our second call to the public. Is there any member of the public that has anything they'd like to say at this time? And closing call to the public. Call to the council, which is for current events only. Council Member Hawkins.
I have nothing this evening.
Council Member Anderson.
I have nothing.
Council Member Wall.
A couple of things. First of all, I want to thank the Coventry neighborhood in Sun City for their generous donation and their ongoing support of both our fire and police departments. I'm so proud of them and what they do for the town, and I just think it's great. Secondly, I just want to mention my husband and I went out to the AOUW cemetery the other day. We walked the entire area. It's very impressive to see the dates of some of the burials and how long ago many of them occurred, as much as 100 years ago. And I think that this is something that we need to continue to consider in terms of its value to the town. We don't own that cemetery, although it is within the town limits, And I'm not sure what we can do to preserve it going forward, but I was so impressed with the history that exists there. And of course, I'm a big supporter of the history of the town. So hopefully we can come to some resolution to preserve that cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Galeen.
Yes, I wish David Elliott was still here because I do want to commend him on the 35 years that he worked for the town of Florence. It's very unusual nowadays to have an employee work in the service of a public servant for 35 years. He was a very hardworking, ethical person, always had a smile on his face, and just an exemplary employee. So, David, if you're listening to this, I personally want to thank you for your service to the town of Florence.
Thank you. Councilmember Larson.
I just wanted to take a moment to talk about, we went to myself as well, and Hawkins, we all went to the Florence Air Modelers Association, their grand opening, a ribbon cutting, rather, of the RC tract. I don't think we've really discussed that a whole lot here, but I found it was really impressive. And they also allow people to bring kids, especially there, and try and encourage youth to come out there, to bring their remote control cars out there and to join their association for free. And it's a great opportunity for intergenerational connections to be made. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to help the youth, and it gives them something to do and something to look forward to. So I really appreciated the invite and appreciated the opportunity to go out and view what they're doing out there. I really love how they're trying to involve the whole community. Also wanted to celebrate a little bit with David Elliott's retirement. I know he's always been a smiling face around town, so I really appreciated him being a loyal employee. So that's all I really have for today.
Vice Mayor Woolridge.
I would like to thank Carl Bell for his service on planning and zoning, as well as to thank David for his service. Like Becky said, it's rare for people to hang around that long, so that's truly a blessing for the town to have him around for so many years, and hopefully he'll enjoy his retirement after working so hard and so long. And I would also like to thank the town and the council for approving for the mayor and myself to go to Washington, D.C. It was an eye-opening experience. It was very cold. I missed Arizona. But we actually learned a lot, but it can be a little overwhelming for your first time because they have so many classes and things that you could attend, and they were all at the same time, so we were trying to figure out how to split it up so that we can get the most benefit from it. But we were part of the largest group that attended. The towns were 50,000 or less, so we were in a pretty good group of towns and cities that were like ours. And the big thing was, of course, transportation and infrastructure, which we know we need to get on top of and try to stop the federal government from passing those costs down to us. And I think we're doing a pretty good job on staying on top of those transportation issues that are coming our way, and also the programs that are coming down regarding FirstNet. I'm not sure if the two chiefs, have you heard about that? Okay. So that's going to be a program that's going to allow public service agencies to be able to talk to one another and to have interoperable connectivity. So that was a pretty interesting class that I went to, as well as public-private partnerships. And I think we're above the curve on that one. So I think maybe next year we can go and do a presentation for them because we have a unique situation. But that was a big thing, that those public-private partnerships are very important to try to save on the town's economic base. So it was really interesting, and our mayor stepped up. She was asked to be on a panel. She probably won't tell you that herself, so I wanted to give a shout out to her because she was active. She was everywhere, and her mother had to tell her, quit talking to everybody, quit speaking to everyone. But she did a great job on the panel, and I did copy the report that they did, so I'll share that with you. But she did a great job, and it was interesting. Very good opportunity for the town of Florence. Just a reminder that we need to stay on top of the federal government because they don't really want to help us out very much. So we need to make sure we have a presence. Okay, I'm done.
So Valerie summed a lot up, as well as I submitted a piece to Mark to put in the paper as well, summarizing the experience. So hopefully that comes out this week. I just sent it to you about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The conference was very eye-opening. Yes, it was cold, but it actually felt really nice. I'm not going to lie, and I don't like the cold. I moved here 14 years ago from upstate New York, but it was pretty nice. It was refreshing. The National League members are representative, as Vice Mayor Woolridge said, small towns to large cities. The smallest town had 2,000 residents up to the largest town of 50,000 residents. We all found similarities as well as diversities within our communities and issues that were transcendent throughout, and how we are addressing those issues and moving forward. Again, today's infrastructure needs are diverse and complex, and the local governments are doing all that we can to address those needs. We need to be competitive. We need to keep up with the times. Instead of a 1950s infrastructure, we need to be planning and preparing for the 2050 infrastructure. And that's, in our town, we've been addressing those needs, as well as others of economic development, public-private partnerships. So again, we've learned a lot. I think that it would be helpful planning in the future to have all of, our council members be able to be present at one point or another. I did bring a gift back for council, and this will be in our bookshelf room. James C. Hunt is a president, past president. He also co-authored this book. He had visited 27 different communities and wrote about which, sets them apart from others, any struggles that they had. He's a very accomplished author and person. So this will be in the council room for anybody to read, should they be interested in. And I also had a great conversation with him and tried to talk him into visiting our community. I invited him because we have our Road to Country Thunder coming up on March 31st, and he was so intrigued at all of the different opportunities and events that we have in our town, so hopefully he'll visit us soon. I did have an opportunity to serve on a panel, and you're right, I love to talk to anybody. Anybody who wants to engage in a discussion, I am there. So more to come about that. This past weekend, I had attended the Greater Florence Women's 25th Fashion Show. Those ladies know how to have a great time. And they had escorts from police and fire department up and down the runway. So the color to look out for is pinks and greens for spring. Those are going to be the hot trending colors. And then on March 24th, they also have a tour. Mr. Hughes, can you help me out with this one a little bit? A tour for the...
It's associated with the Grand Lodge.
The Masonic Lodge.
So they'll be coming to Florence to visit our town.
Yes, so they're going to be having a tour for the Masonic Lodge. And again, upcoming, we have our Road to Country Thunder on March 31st, free concert right on Main Street. Come on out and have a good time. And with that, we have the most amazing executive session.
Oh, I did forget to mention that we went on the Hill and went to a couple of congressmen's offices as well.
We did. We were able to visit with a congressman from Kansas who was very, very kind, opened his doors, and we learned a little from his community. And we also met with Congressman Gosar. And, he heard our needs and listened. We also tried to reach out, but Senator McCain is home healing, as you guys know. So we're going to continue advocating and communicating and working towards betterment of our community at state and federal levels. With that, we need a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign.